Herkese merhaba. Elsevier Türkiye 5-1K Eko Araştırmacı Seminer serilerimizden Bilimsel Kitap Yazarlığı seminerimize hoş geldiniz. Öncelikli olarak birazcık teknik bilgilerle başlayacağız her zamanki gibi. Beni artık herhalde bilmeyenler için tekrar tanıtayım. Hani birçok seminer gerçekleştirdik ama Elsevier Türkiye ekibinden Saide ben. Başlamadan şu an kayıt altına alınıyor seminerimiz. Bu sizlerle paylaşılacak. YouTube kanalımıza da yükleyeceğiz zaten. Sorularınız olursa Q&A kısmından yazmanızı rica ediyoruz. Sunum sonunda sorulara değineceğiz. Bugün konuşmacılarımız var. Sunum sonunda bunları yanıtlamaya çalışacağız ama yani daha doğrusu içerikle ilgili sunum sahibi olan kişilere yönelteceğiniz sorular, ama onun dışındaki teknik soruları chat kısmından da yazabilirsiniz. O arada biz destekleyici ekip olarak sizlere yanıt vermeye çalışacağız bu süre içerisinde. Sertifika ve diğer notlarla ilgili bilgilendirme yine her zamanki gibi sunum sonumuzda her şeyi bitirdikten sonra ben yapacağım. Bugün değişik bir seminer olacak çünkü yabancı bir konuğumuz var, konuşmacı konuğumuz var. Sizlere bu anlamda çeviri sağlanacak. Çeviri ihtiyacı olmadığınızda bir şey yapmanıza gerek yok ama Stacy'nin sunumuna geçtiğimizde, yabancı konuşmamızın oturumuna geçtiğimizde, şimdi ekranlarınızın altında Interpretation diye bir ikon görüyorsunuz. Oraya tıklayıp Türkçe odayı seçtiğinizde Stacy'nin sunumunu Türkçe olarak şu an sizlere destek verecek çevirmenlerimizi duymaya başlayacaksınız Türkçe olarak. Yine herhangi bir şekilde Türkçe içerik sunulduğunda, yani artık çeviriye ihtiyaç duymadığınızda off konumuna getirebilirsiniz çeviriyi. Böylece normal içeriği duymaya devam edersiniz. Ama İngilizce yani Türkçe istediğinizde sadece Türkçeyi seçeceksiniz. Onun dışında off konumunda kalabilir. Eğer Türkçe'de kalırsanız, hani çeviri kısmında kalırsanız ve biz hani ben burada Türkçe bir takım açıklamalar yaparken o kısımda duymayabilirsiniz. Dolayısıyla hani bunun arasında hani çeviriye ihtiyaç duyduğunuzda kullanacağınız bir araç olacak. Yine sorularınız olursa ilerleyen dönemde, yani şu an mesela beni eğer Türkçe'ye geçerseniz duyamayacaksınız. Orada çünkü şu an hani bir çeviri yok. Dolayısıyla bu aşamada sizlere destek olacağız herhangi bir sorunla karşılaşırsanız. Evet, yine bir hatırlatmayla başlıyoruz. Biliyorsunuz pandemi sürecinde özellikle uzaktan erişim, kütüphanemizin sunduğu kaynaklara uzaktan erişim bizler için çok önemli hale geldi. Her sunumumuza bunu hatırlatarak başlıyoruz. Çünkü hala ulaşamadığımız kişiler olabilir, ilk kez katılanlar olabilir. Kütüphanenizin size sunduğu bilimsel kaynakları kütüphanenizin uzaktan erişim seçenekleriyle kullanabiliyorsunuz. Evden olsanız da başka bir yerden olsanız. O yüzden lütfen kütüphane sayfanızı kontrol edin. Onun dışında Elsevier çözümlerine Scopus Science için de kurumsal elektronik posta adresinizle bir aktivasyon yapabiliyorsunuz. Bunu da önceki zaten seminerlerde değinmiştik. Onları YouTube videolarından izleyebilirsiniz, özellikle literatür tarama ile ilgili olanları. Dolayısıyla bu hatırlatmayı da yapmak istedim. Bugün evet konuşmacı konuklarım var. Değişik bir konsept deniyoruz. Hep beni dinliyordunuz, beni görmüyordunuz. Bugün görüyorsunuz. Bugün Derya Hanım bizimle beraber olacak. İlk onunla başlayacağız. Elsevier kitap çözümleri yöneticimiz. Sizlere ne gibi kitap türleri var? Aynı zamanda işte yayın süreçlerini anlatırken Stacy de size destek olabilecek içeriksel olarak türleri açıklayacak. Daha sonrasında sözü Stacy'ye vereceğiz. Stacy de sizlere Elsevier kapsamında bilimsel kitap yayın süreçleriyle ilgili faydalı olabilecek bilgileri paylaşacak. Çünkü gerçekten sadece dergi yayınlamak değil, kitap yayınlamak da akademik olarak prestijimize ve eskimize çok büyük katkıları olan bir içerik. Bu konuda bir sürü Stacy paylaşacak. Zaten Türk yazarlarımız da var. Şu anki katılımcılarımızın da bu yazarların arasında katılmasını istediğimiz için bugünkü semineri organize ettik. İlk başta program nasıl olacak? Dediğim gibi Derya Hanım kitap içerik kapsamı ile ilgili sizlere bilgiler vermeye çalışacak. Daha sonrasında da kitap yazar çalıştığı kısmını Stacy ile yürüteceğiz. Sonrasında dediğim gibi Q&A kısmından her zaman bize yazabilirsiniz. Chat kısmından teknik olanları yazabilirseniz seviniriz sadece. Q&A'yı içerik açısından kullanırsak daha efektif oluyor. Bizim o arada arka taraftaki ekip olarak yanıtlayabileceklerimizi yanıtlayacağız yazılı olarak. sunum sahiplerinize, konuşmacılarımıza sorduklarınızda da sunum sonunda sesli olarak sizlere sunmaya çalışacağız. Ben şimdi sözü daha fazla uzatmadan Derya Hanım'a bırakıyorum. Umuyorum sizler için de faydalı bir seminer olur.
Çok teşekkür ederim Saide Hanım. Evet, Saide Hanım'ın bahsettiği gibi ben Türkiye ve Orta Doğu'dan sorumlu kitap çözümleri yöneticisiyim. Ve bu sene Türkiye'de özellikle bu pandemi sürecinde farklı kitap türlerinin ön plana çıktığını fark ettik. Bununla ilgili de genel olarak sizlere bilgi vermek istedik. Çünkü genellikle kitap denilince herkesin aklına tek bir tür geliyor ama farklı içerik türleri var ve özellikle uzaktan eğitim sürecinde bu içerik türleri geçmişte kıyasla daha ön plana çıktı. Şimdi öncelikle biraz kitaplardan bahsedelim. Dünyada araştırmacıların içerik kullanım davranışlarındaki son trendlere gelelim. Çünkü geçmişte makaleler, dergiler çok ön plandaydı ama günümüzde yapılan araştırmalarda görüyoruz ki disiplinler arası çalışmalar daha ön plana çıkmaya başladı. Bu da disiplinler arası çalışmaların bir sonucu olarak da farklı bir disiplinle birlikte çalışırken araştırmacıların o disiplinin temel kavramlarına biraz daha hakim olması gerekiyor. Kendi disiplinimiz olduğu zaman bunu dergilerden son trendleri, son çalışmaları takip ederek götürebiliyoruz. Ama farklı bir disipline geçtiğimiz zaman, örneğin bir mühendis olarak tıpla ilgili tıptan bir araştırmacıyla çalışma yaptığımız ya da benzer şekilde sosyal bilimlerden bir araştırmacıyla birlikte çalışmaya başladığımız zaman o alanın temel bilgilerini makalelerden alabilmemiz pek mümkün değil. Temel bilgileri o yüzden özellikle disiplinler arası çalışmalarda ilk başlangıç aşaması ve başlangıç aşamasında kitap kullanımı daha ön plana çıkıyor. %81'in üzerinde kitap kullanımına yöneliyor kullanıcılar. %41'i bunun dergilerle birlikte kullanım, makalelerle birlikte kullanım. Ama %40 gibi büyük bir oranda sadece kitapların kullanımı. Çünkü o alanın temel kavramlarına hakim olmak gerekiyor ki ortak bir dil geliştirebilelim. Peki biz Science Direct olarak, Elsevier olarak kitaplarımızı nasıl değerlendiriyoruz? Nasıl bir yayın stratejimiz var? Önce bundan bahsedelim. Şimdi bize çok fazla yayın geliyor ve çok fazla red veriyoruz. Bunun sebebi kesinlikle kitapların kalitesiyle ilgili değil. Elsevier'in yayın stratejisi gereği Elsevier'in tercihi nerede kitaba ihtiyaç var bunu araştırıyoruz. Elimizdeki büyük data analizleri yapabileceğimiz içeriklerle, bildiğiniz gibi biz Science Direct'e sahip olduğumuz için dünyada en çok kullanılan yayın zaten Science Direct. Ne arama yapılıyor? Benzer şekilde Scopus ne aramalar yapıldığını takip ederek neye ihtiyaç var önümüzde ona bakıyoruz. Çok fazla kitap yayınlamak gibi bir stratejimiz yok. Stratejimiz araştırmacının ihtiyacı olan kitapları yayınlayalım. Bu boşlukları bulduktan sonra da bu boşluklardaki yayınları hangi yazarlar yazabilir, hangi hocalarımız, hangi araştırmacılarımız bu konuda en iyi onu araştırıyoruz. Ve onlardan rica ediyoruz açıkçası yazmalarını. Elbette gelen kitaplardan da bu ihtiyacı karşılayanları yayınlıyoruz. Bu sebeple çok fazla kitap yayınlamıyoruz. Biraz daha seçici olabiliyoruz bu konuda. Ama amacımız sonunda araştırmacılarımıza, sizlere çalışmalarınıza destek olacak bulamadığınız kaynakları yaratabilmek. Biraz önce bahsettiğim gibi çok fazla kitap yayınlamak istemiyoruz ama bu kitaplarımızın sizlerin araştırmalarına destek olmasını istiyoruz. Bunu da kitap başına düşen atıfla ölçüyoruz. Eskiden kitap atıflarını çok ölçülemiyordu ilgili atıf veri tabanlarında bulunmadığı için ama artık Scopus'la biz kitapları da indekslemeye başladık ve sayısı gittikçe artıyor. Burada sadece Elsevier'in kitapları yok. Bütün yayın evlerinin kitapları var. Bize başvuran ve değerlendirmeden geçebilen tabii ki de dergilerle benzer şekilde belli kriterler var. Ama burada bunu ölçümleyerek en çok hangi yayın evinin atıf aldığını takip ediyoruz. Kendi amaçlarımıza ulaşıp ulaşamadığımızı da buradan kontrol ediyoruz. Şu anda daha az kitap yayınlamasına rağmen en çok atıfa sahip olan akademik yayıncı Elsevier. Peki kitaplar öğrenmenin hangi aşamalarını destekliyor? Şimdi pandemi döneminde tabii uzaktan çalışıyoruz. Uzaktan öğrenme gerçekleşiyor. Burada elektronik kitapların ön plana çıkması ve burada hangi aşamalarda hangi kitap türlerinin ön plana çıktığını görmemiz gerekiyor. Şimdi genellikle bizim bildiğimiz e-kitap dediğimizde monograflar. Ama aslında temel danışma kaynakları dediğimiz ansiklopediler var. Ki zaman içinde bilginin ilgililiği konusunda hani büyük bir kısmı orası oluşturuyor. İlk araştırmaya başladığımızda günlük hayatımızda da öyle, ödev hazırlarken de öyle bir konuyla ilgili sıfırdan başladığımız zaman ilk gittiğimiz kaynak ansiklopediler. Sonrasında ders kitapları geliyor. Bizim burada ders danışma hibritleri dediğimiz kitap türlerimiz de var. İki türün arasında kalan. Ama ilk bir alana başladığımız zaman, ilk bir alanı öğrenmeye başladığımız zaman öncelikli olarak danışma kaynakları ve ders kitaplarına gidiyoruz. Daha sonra monograflar geliyor. Daha bizim bildiğimiz kitap, bir konuda yazılmış kitap, eksiksiz gelişmiş ayrıntılı açıklamaları ya da veri setlerinin özetlerini, saha teknik için bilgileri bulmak istediğimiz zaman monograflara yöneliyoruz tabii ki de. Bundan sonra kitap serileri geliyor. Kitap serileri çok bilinen, isim olarak bilinen kaynaklar değil ama çok fazla kullanılan kaynaklar aslında. Dergilerle kitaplar arasında kalıyor. Biraz gri bir bölgede. Bir alandaki son gelişmeler ve yöntemlerin derinlemesine araştırılması. Burada belki aramızda sağlıkla ilgili çalışan hocalarımız, araştırmacılarımız vardır. Bu yöntem, burada en ünlü kitap serilerinden biri Methods of Enzymology'dir. Kimi araştırmacılarımız bunu dergi olarak biliyor, kimi araştırmacılarımız kitap serisi olarak, kitap olarak biliyor ama aslında kitap serisi dediğimiz bölüme giriyor. Özellikle son gelişmelerin takibinin önemli olduğu alanlarda kitap serileri oldukça yardımcı olan kaynaklar. Araştırmanın da bir üst aşamasına geçmiş oluyor. Sonrasında da dergilere geliyoruz tabii ki de. Peki lisans ve sonrası ders, eğitim ve öğretim için içeriğimiz nasıl? Burada Science Direct'ten bir örnek veriyorum. Science Direct'ten örneklendiriyoruz tabii ki de. Elsevier kitaplarından örneklendiriyoruz. Science Direct kullanan kurumlar abonelikleri varsa, abonelikleri yoksa da kütüphaneden isteyebilirsiniz. Bir kitaba ihtiyacınız olduğu zaman kütüphaneleriniz size yardımcı olacaktır. Bizden de rica edebilirsiniz çok acil durumlarınızda. 250'den fazla ders kitabı var. 710'dan fazla hibrit ders ve danışma kaynağı arasında kaldığını söylediğimiz bölüm var. 200'den fazla danışma kaynağı var ve 35.000'in üzerinde, şu anda 37.000 civarında da monografımız mevcut. Peki Türkiye'deki durum ne? Hani pandemi sürecinde de ön plana çıktı diyoruz. Kitap sayılarını burada görüyorsunuz. Oranlamak açısından da bu kitap sayılarını koyduk. Kitap serileri, Handbook'u da kitap serileri içerisinde sayabilirsiniz. MRW dediğimiz Major Reference Works, temel danışma kaynaklarımız, ansiklopediler, paket dediğimiz bölüm monograflar, textbook'sa ders kitapları. Burada oranladığımız zaman özellikle ansiklopediler, kitap serileri ve ders kitapları aslında ön plana çıkıyor. Çünkü sayıları çok az aslında sistem içerisinde ama kullanımları çok yoğun. Özellikle 2020 yılı içerisinde bu kullanımlar arttı. Mart 2020, Ağustos 2020 yılları arası, tarihleri arasında biz ders kitaplarını ücretsiz açtık pandemi dolayısıyla. Bütün kullanıcılarımızın, üniversitelerimizin uzaktan eğitime geçmesi ve bunun çok ani olması sebebiyle uzaktan eğitimi desteklemek adına kitaplarımızı açtık. 134.313 indirme oldu. Bu kısa dönem içerisinde kullanım oldu. Ders kitapları bu yüzden özellikle pandemi döneminde ders kitapları ve ansiklopediler çok ön plana çıktılar. Uzaktan eğitimi desteklemek adına çok ön plana çıktılar. Benim anlatacaklarım buraya kadar, çok uzun tutmak istemedim. Yazar çalıştayına destek olması adına içerik türlerinden biraz bahsetmek istedim. Burada sözü arkadaşlarıma bırakıyorum. Çok teşekkürler.
Derya Hanım, çok teşekkür ediyoruz paylaşımlarınızdan dolayı. Şimdi sözü Stacy'ye vereceğim. Stacy, you can share your screen and just introduce yourself. Bu arada şu an İngilizceden Türkçe'ye çeviri ihtiyacı olanlar interpretation kısmından Türkçe'ye geçiş yapabilirler. O esnada çeviri ekibimiz, değerli Ebru Hanım ve Cankat Bey, sizlere bu konuda destek olacaklar. Türkçe odaya alabiliriz sizi. Normalde sunum Türkçe devam ederken onu off konumuna getireceksiniz. Stacy, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I'm just going to get my slides ready. Okay, so welcome everyone to the book publishing process. I want to thank everyone for the introduction. I just want to say that in addition to my formal education in publishing and my career in the industry, I consider myself to be an avid book supporter. And it's not always a popular opinion in this digital age. And I hope that my love and support of books are going to be clear in this presentation and are going to excite everyone today.
Stacey, sorry for interruption, but we can see your slides right now.
Oh, okay. You can't see them?
No, not yet. Okay. Now I think it's loading. Now we can see, but we need the presentation mode. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's
right. Okay, yeah. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know. So I will move on. So I was just saying, on a personal note, I just wanted to let everyone know a little bit about me. In addition to having a formal education in publishing, being an avid book supporter is really important to me. And on a personal note, I live in upstate New York, and I'm right outside of the capital, which is Albany. And I have a husband and 2 sons, Nick and James. And we also have 2 cats, Thimble, Tack, and Walter. So today I'm going to be covering a lot of things in the next 30 minutes. So Turkey and their standing in academic publishing, and how that relates to Elsevier, an overview of different content types. I'm going to be looking at it in a different way than Daria did. The difference between authoring and editing books. And then I'm going to give you an overview of the entire publishing process. This includes how to write a strong proposal, selecting the right publisher, and all phases from the contracting all the way to marketing. So let's begin. Turkey has a very impressive academic presence, and in research from 2014 to 19, they boast over 200,000 scholarly articles and 180,000 authors. And all of these articles received over 1 million citations. The country's received $924 million in awards and has over 1,100 patents during that same time frame. In the wheel on the right-hand side, you can see that there's many areas of academic publishing that authors tackle year after year. And these impressive numbers are something to be quite proud of. The relationship between Turkish authors and Elsevier continues to grow. And you can see that in this chart. Within our Science Direct platform alone, we have over 3,400 Turkish authors and editors and an additional 2,700 authored book chapters. The chart on the right shows the tremendous growth that we share together since 2000, and we really would like to continue growing this partnership. In this chart, you can see some of the subject areas of publication from Turkey with Elsevier. You can see the top 5 areas on the right-hand side of the screen, but all areas in this chart are in demand and ready for partnership with you. This slide background just highlights some of the titles that we've published by Turkish authors and editors. And on top of it is a short list of some of the affiliations from which our authors and editors and contributors come from. And you can see that the content is as vast as the institutions. So I want to work together today to gain a better understanding of the book publishing process for you. So next time we can see your name, affiliation, and book in this slide in the future. I now want to give you an overview of the different content types that Elsevier publishes. And this should look familiar to you. It's very similar to what Daria covered. And she did a wonderful job of covering the information and how researchers and students use each one of those. But I want to give you a publisher's view on each one of these tiers from the content point of view, so you can start to think about what type of book you may want to write. We regard all the books as the knowledge repository from which we learn, and you can see that below the pyramid at the very bottom of the slide. Next up is major reference works, and those are at the base of the pyramid. And these are the types of products that are fully comprehensive and foundational. They give an introduction to a discipline area, and they're often presented as those encyclopedias or huge reference modules. As you start to glance up the pyramid, next you're going to see textbooks. These are going to have that very fine pedagogical examination of a subject area's concepts, and the methods will also be included. The textbooks provide the knowledge when you're studying a discipline. So there's a big difference between that reference level and then the studying of that level. One level above the textbooks, you find handbooks. And these tend to have the data sets and methods and processes and techniques that are all specific to a particular field. And they often can provide a quick answer while on the job. Above that, you see monographs and single volume references. These include authored and edited works, and these titles are fully comprehensive, but they often will show the adjacent fields and advanced and detailed descriptions for in-depth coverage of one specific area. Above that are your serials, and these are the highly cited publications that offer that in-depth look of the latest developments that are happening in a particular field. And finally, at the very tip of the pyramid, you see journal review articles and primary research. And we know that this contains the most recent advances in the field, and it's very, very specific. All of these formats work together to answer the questions that researchers and students have along their entire journey. So when considering authoring, you should definitely consider which type of content you want to pursue. I just want to take a minute now that you have a really good understanding of the different types of content and just ask you about which type of content is most useful to you. And we'll just give a minute or so for everyone to have a chance to answer. If you have any questions or don't remember what the different types are, you can also ask and we can put an answer in the Q&A. So I had a question about more details on monographs, and what I'm going to do is just answer it here. So monographs can be edited or authored, and these are the types of titles where you will have important information about a particular topic area, but it also will be interdisciplinary. So it's a good reference for people to be able to use who maybe don't have as much experience in a certain field and want to get up to speed on that field. So they really cover a broad range of content. And I am unable to see the results. So if the results are there, if those can be published. So it looks like over 51% of the people prefer journal articles and use those most often. And then major reference works after, or I'm sorry, combination is next, and then major reference works and textbooks, and then serials, monographs, and handbooks are tied at the end. Thanks everyone for sharing that information. So some of you might be sitting there and wondering why Elsevier would hold a session on books. Aren't books old-fashioned? You know, after all, the printing of the book is from the 15th century technology of 1440. And if you do a Google search on, is the print book dead? You're going to find over 1 million articles that debate that very topic. But I'm here today to tell you that there's never been a more exciting or important time to be involved in books. And to understand that, I just need to explain some things. We're going to start with the difference between journal and book content. Both books and journals provide different types of content, but it's for that very reason that they're fundamentally interlinked. Journal articles, we know, we've talked about, they provide depth, specialized knowledge in a distinct area, very narrow focus of a topic. And they're going to go into extreme depth of that topic. And they're also going to focus on the very latest and greatest new results. And all of this is very important. Book content, on the other hand, is going to provide breadth, and that's in connecting different disciplines together. It has a broad view of topics, and it allows for expert opinions on multiple foundational topics and the complexity of differing opinions all collated into one source. Finally, books have the ability to provide related fields, the methods, and materials all in one place. All of this is equally important when people are trying to learn about a topic. So what does this mean for you? Very simply, that researchers and students need both types of content to build their complete knowledge of a topic area. The book has come a really long way, and I don't just mean from the times of papyrus. If we go back to the 15th century technology, when the printing press was invented in 1440, it was one of the most influential events in the second millennium. But books over the last 20 years have really changed. They are not the same tomes that came off that Gutenberg press. Books used to be read from cover to cover, start to finish, page 1 to the very end, and there was no other way around it. But that's no longer true. After the first e-reader hit the market around 1997, books were no longer the same. People began navigating directly to the parts they wanted. They began marking books in a different way electronically, and only reading what they needed when they needed it. And around that same time, publishers began to see a need to organize data, make it searchable, discoverable, available, and that is where the magic happened. One example of this is our Science Direct platform. We take all of the types of content that we've discussed today, major reference works, journals, ebooks, monographs, serials, series, handbooks, all of them, throw them all together and apply machine learning and artificial intelligence to help people find the exact answers that they're looking for. And studies have shown that the use of Science Direct shortens the research process, saving an average of 47 minutes a day. And I don't know about you, but I'd love to get 47 minutes back in every day. Books on Science Direct have the highest citation impact, 2.1. And I know Daria covered that. And it's a really nice statistic, but it might get you wondering, with all that content that's out there, how is my book going to get noticed? And one of the keys to discoverability is our topic pages. Topic pages are generated by using automated technology for information extraction. And by applying these natural language processing and AI techniques to all of our published content, it surfaces the most relevant snippets of information from reference books and journals in a succinct, summarized page. They're then directly searchable on Science Direct, hyperlinked from key terms in journals and book chapters, and best of all, they are freely discoverable through search engines, completely free. Science Direct has topic pages in 20 distinct domains and over 650,000 hyperlinks to and from the pages from across all of Science Direct. It is a platform dedicated to the discoverability and co-usage of your book. Due to the machine learning and AI aiding in the discoverability of book content, we've found that books are used more widely, harnessed more accurately, and accessed faster than ever before. And that is why I truly believe today is the best time to devote yourself to writing a book. I now want to take a moment to find out about your experience with Science Direct topic pages. If you could answer the next poll and let us know if you have used Science Direct topic pages and how useful have they been? And again, if there are any questions, you can put them into the Q&A. I am not able to see the answers, so when we have most of the folks answering, if you would just publish that for me, thank you. So we have 44% at very useful, 28 at somewhat, never used them at 23, and 6% not useful at all. So I hope for those of you who have not heard of them, I hope this was helpful. I hope you will seek them out. We can send a link to folks if they're interested on where to find them. And thank you very much for your answers. So by now, I hope that I've convinced you that writing a book is a worthy effort, and it's time to determine if you want to be an editor or an author. The first thing to consider is if you want to author or edit the book. Authoring means that you're going to write every single word from cover to cover. Editing means that you're going to manage a manuscript which will have individual chapter contributors. And there's some distinct differences between those two workflows, but I'm going to start by highlighting their similarities first. So both editors and authors should be known and respected in their field. They should be able to identify a market need, and this includes a clear understanding of their subject matter with a targeted audience for whom the content is for. They should be able to plan the scope of the content to ensure the needs of that market are met. And they will both be supported by Elsevier's in-house staff throughout their entire publishing process. And this allows them to produce the highest quality end product. And finally, both are paid by the publisher in the form of a royalty. Now the differences. A volume editor, this is the person who's going to manage chapter contributions. Volume editors are expected to design a table of contents for the book comprehensively and fully covering the entire subject area. They then need to secure all of the individual chapter authors. They need to manage them, and they need to perform the overall scientific editorial review of each and every individual chapter. Next, we move on to chapter authors. These are the authors that will contribute chapters to go into the volume editor. Chapter authors are going to work closely with that volume editor to plan their chapter coverage. This is to avoid overlap and gaps. They're expected to write between 7,000 and 10,000 words, and that's in about a 6-month time period. And there is no payment to chapter authors, but there's also no fees to pay. Finally, we move on to volume authors. These are the people who will be writing from cover to cover. Volume authors are expected to write at least 100,000 words in about a year's time. They need to deliver a well-referenced manuscript, and their manuscript has to explain science and how to apply it. And it's also very important for volume authors to have interdisciplinary expertise. This allows them to deliver content for readers who have a varied background. And for you, deciding which of these workflows works best for your time, your experience, and your capabilities is going to have a huge impact on how successful your authoring experience is. So now that you have the workflow that best fits your needs, let's talk about what makes a premium author or editor. And the attributes of a premium author and editor can vary by field and industry, but generally speaking, they will have some or all of the following: high quality publication rating, a good H index, good standing at an institution or company. They'll be known for a broad knowledge of their subject area and the ability to share that knowledge in an interdisciplinary way. They might be the editor of they might have a position in a related academic society or a journal. And after I finish that list, you're probably thinking to yourself, who in the world is going to meet all of that criteria? And even if they did meet that criteria, how would they have time to write a book? Well, with all of this said and put on the slide, I do want to mention that exceptions have and can be made. One of the most successful books that I ever acquired was from a doctor, and he was so busy with his practice that he wasn't involved in research, he had no prior publications, and he didn't sit on any boards. I met him at a medical conference, and he had an idea for a book that explained a medical procedure for the heart in a new way. And through our conversation, I began to see his passion for the area, and he had a great talent for explaining complicated medical ideas. And despite his lack of credentials, I reviewed his proposal idea and had it reviewed, and it was overwhelmingly approved by the market. So Elsevier approved this publication, and I'm proud to say that it's now in its 3rd edition, and it is the top-selling research title in its portfolio. So even if someone does not meet all of this criteria, they can work with an acquisitions editor to get advice on how to best develop a plan for publication. Now that you're convinced to be an author or editor, let's look at the publishing cycle. The first step is your book proposal. The proposal writing process is not intended to be daunting, and a good editor will guide you through each step. Your standard book proposal is going to cover 7 key areas. First is your title and topic, and you want your topic to be broad enough to attract a large audience, but not so popular that the market is saturated with publications. So you carefully want to select your topic and then a title that succinctly summarizes it using keywords. The subject and market need. Take time to discuss the need your book will fill in the market. Address any information gaps of your target audience and explain how your publication will help to solve the gaps. Next is author credentials. What is it about you that makes you appropriate for the subject matter or the book? Credentials are important here, as we've mentioned, but so is your motivation for writing. What is your story? What do you bring to the book? Your intended audience and its needs. Know your audience and tailor the content and features of the book to address the needs of that audience. Trying to make a general book that appeals to every single person out there is not ideal, and so many people pitch that. That approach always falls short. It is better to target a specific group and meet their needs completely. Geography. Where will your topic sell best in the world, and why is that? Are there geographical limitations to the audience for some reason? If so, why? And what might be done to increase your international appeal? Competition. Are you aware of any recent publications or manuscripts that are in preparation that are likely to compete with your title? Include strengths and weaknesses of those titles, as well as how your title is going to be different and better. And finally, your specifications and timeline. How many pages do you think you're going to write? How many figures do you anticipate in each chapter? Do you need color to understand those figures? And how long will it take you to write and put all this together? Having a high quality book proposal is going to make your review process go more quickly and minimize any need for queries and multiple rounds of edits. The more effort you put into your proposal upfront, the more likely it's going to be accepted right away. So at this point, you've got this great proposal. So how do you find your publisher? First, go out, read or research new titles, and find publishers with books on topics similar to your idea. In addition, you can discuss with colleagues to find out where they publish and which publishers they consider to be reputable. Don't be afraid to scan the reference lists of books that you use and find out where researchers in your area are publishing. Also, ask publishers about their global distribution strategy. Where do they have offices? What is their distribution strategy in third world countries? What percentage of books are translated? And finally, with publishers now producing ebook versions of texts, consider the publisher's electronic strategy. Online presence allows your content to be more discoverable and reach a larger audience. When done with your proposal, be sure to make a strategic choice about where to send it. At this point, I'd like to take a moment to determine which book workflow works best for everyone on the call. Authoring, where you write a book all on your own. Editing, where you solicit chapter contributions from other people. Being a chapter contributor, writing a chapter and contributing it to an editor. Or are you just not interested in writing? Okay, 52% said they're interested in being chapter contributors, 35% authoring on their own, 10% editing, and 2% not interested. Well, I'm glad most of the people on this call are interested. I'm glad to hear that. So now that you've got your workflow ready and you know what publisher you might have in mind, your proposal's complete, it's time to submit it. And during this stage, it goes through several phases. And I'm just going to walk you through those quickly. First, the proposal is submitted to your acquisitions editor. The acquisitions editor is going to review it, and they may have some questions or additional information that needs to be filled out, and they'll work with you on that. Once they're satisfied with the proposal, they send it out for peer review. This can take anywhere from 2 weeks or more. And during this time, the acquisitions editor solicits reviews from the market and compiles them all. They then create an editorial analysis, which will highlight for you any requested changes in the scope or content if they're needed. The editorial analysis comes back to you, and a revised proposal is created with the acquisitions editor. Once the acquisitions editor and author are happy with the scope and content of the book, it's formally proposed at the publisher and finally approved. After approval, your acquisitions editor will deliver you a contract. And Elsevier uses DocuSign, which is a fully secure online electronic system for signature. Your manuscript due date will be clearly specified within the contract, and it is crucial for you to maintain that date because sales and marketing efforts will be tied to it. Copyright will be held by Elsevier, and guidelines for author reuse are outlined in the contract. Elsevier offers very reasonable terms for reuse with permission. And copyright with Elsevier is an important aspect for both the global dissemination of your book content as well as the availability of Elsevier to be able to fight piracy on your behalf. And finally, editor and author royalties and complimentary copies are all outlined within the contract. The next phase is manuscript development. During this phase, an editorial project manager, an EPM, will be assigned to your project, and EPMs are experts in manuscript development and will be able to guide you throughout this entire process. And they provide you with detailed author guidelines, and they will have you put your manuscript to be delivered in Elsevier's proprietary system, ELSA, which is an authoring platform. Some of the elements you might be asked to include are listed here: your final list of contributors, sample chapter prior to final manuscript, text, equations, tables, references, keywords, permissions. At this time, you're also going to review your cover image and back cover copy to make sure that the cover tells the story of your book to the customer. And some optional items might be your preface, foreword, glossary, and any appendices you might have. So now that your manuscript is done, it's time to go to production. At this time, a production manager or a PM is going to join the team. PMs are experts in the production process, and this includes the copy editing of your final draft manuscript, the proofreading, the indexing, and then on to manufacturing. During the copy edit phase, you're going to be responsible to review all suggested edits and accept and reject them. Our copy editors will edit for grammar and spelling, but are not responsible for the scientific content. That is your job as the author or editor. We provide proofreading on all chapters, and this ensures that all of the changes that you request throughout the process are implemented, saving everyone time. Elsevier also provides indexes for all titles, and these can be subject or alphabetical or according to content needs. The author and editor will review the index before it is finalized. At the end of production, your book is manufactured, and this is the stage that determines the paper, the printer, and ensures that the deadlines set at the start of the project meet our pre-sales orders. Upon publication, your title is part of the Science and Technology Division, and we serve more than 10 million researchers across 45,000 institutions in 180 countries, giving your products the widest reach possible. Your title is available as a traditional print book as well as ebook. And finally, through our 130 abstracting and indexing service partners, your book content is indexed and available on discipline-specific databases, including Science Direct, Thomson Reuters, ISI, Scopus, and our ebook library is available and discoverable on more than 60 third-party retail, library, specialty platforms like Amazon, Google Play, Apple's iBook store. Time for our very last poll. Do you prefer books in print or online? Okay, 50% of you prefer both ways. Then we have 34% in print only, 16% in online only, and 1% with no preference. Well, the good news is when you publish with Elsevier, we provide both. So it doesn't matter what your preference is, we're able to give that to the customer. After release to market, then it's time for sales and marketing to go into full swing. And in addition to a full support sales team to promote your title, like the wonderful people on this call, Elsevier has a novel approach to book author marketing. We moved from product focused to audience driven. And we made this move due to the fact that customers use several products over the course of their career, and it's better to market all of the products to the audience instead of individual products to each audience. And this customer-centric market has benefited our book authors because it's focused on driving product usage through the customer's entire life cycle. Our marketing program provides updates to authors and the market throughout the entire publication process. And that includes things like book release information, book reviews, announcements for awards that are received, as well as a quarterly author newsletter. And this has hints and tips and marketing advice for our authors and editors. Elsevier also provides event support in the form of booths at the major scientific meetings and promotional materials at some of the smaller meetings. Finally, we have a large social media presence. We have Scitec Connect proprietary blog, which allows our authors and editors to share content with their audience even after a book's publication. We maintain over 22 subject-specific communities, and this is across 68 accounts. And we reach more than 3.2 million fans on Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But most importantly, we ensure that abstracting and indexing databases are optimized for searchability to make your content discoverable. So it's my hope that with this presentation, I've given you insight into not only why books are important, but that there's never been a better time to be involved in writing a book than right now. With your new sight into Elsevier's book business and a full understanding of the entire book publishing process, you are now ready to author or edit a book. Thank you.
Evet, eğer sorularınız varsa memnuniyetle yanıtlamak isteriz. I'm asking the questions, Stacy. Thanks for your presentation. Sorularınız varsa lütfen yazabilirsiniz. Stacy, Derya Hanım memnuniyetle cevaplamaya çalışacaktır. O arada ben kendim ekranı paylaşıp son bilgilendirmelere geçebilirim vakit kaybetmeden. Evet, genel bilgilendirmelere geçmeden öncelikle ben tekrar Stacy'ye, Derya Hanım'a çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bugünkü oturumumuza davetimi geri çevirmeyip katkı sağladıkları için. Stacy and Natalia, by the way, you can use the interpretation for the, if you switch to the English room, you can hear me in English with the translator's help. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii arka ekipte de destekçimiz tabii ki çevirmenlerimiz Ebru Hanım ve Cankat Bey'e çok teşekkürler. Hızlı bir çeviri desteği sağladılar bize. Oldukça akıcı bir sunumda. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Umarım sizler de memnun kalmışsınızdır. Arka tarafta tabii ki Ezgi Hanım, Natalya ve ben destek olmaya çalıştık. Umuyoruz biz de mahcup etmemişizdir sizleri. Soru var mı bir bakalım, ondan sonra genel geçelim. Damla Hanım sormuş. Kitap yayın dili yalnız İngilizce mi olmalı? İngilizce yayınlar için proofreading gibi destekler alınabilir mi? Şöyle Damla Hanım, sorunun ilk tarafına ben cevap vereyim. İkinci kısmını da Stacy'ye yönelteceğim. Kitap İngiliz, yani Elsevier'de yayın dili İngilizce. Proofreading konusunda bir destek var mı bu yayın süreçlerimizde? Kendisine yöneltelim. Stacy, we have a question about...
Yes, there is. We copy edit for grammar, and then the proofreading checks that afterwards, so there is a double check that goes on.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is asking the differences between the editor and author.
So again, an editor is the person who has a book in mind. They put together the table of contents, and then they ask for different people to write each chapter. And they organize all of that and put it together in a book. An author is the person who writes from cover to cover. They write every word.
Thanks, Stacey. I think clear for our attendee right now. Hopefully, if not, please just ask more questions in this so we can explain. Another question, she is asking if the proposal comes from the author or the opposite version, how this process works.
So there's two ways that a book can be commissioned. The first is the acquisitions editor puts together a strategy and decides what topic areas they want to find throughout the year. And actually, we've just finished that work for this year. We do it at the end of each year for the start of the new year. And the acquisitions editor will look in the field for people who are leading researchers. Maybe they've done a lot of articles in that area or a lot of research in that area or have spoke at conferences about a particular topic, and they will approach that person and ask them if they want to write for us and help them to create a proposal. And then they go through that process I talked about. The other way that it can happen is that you have an idea on your own, you put together the proposal, and you send that into the acquisitions editor. So there's two different ways that can happen.
Okay, thank you for your reply. And another question is, what is Elsevier's acceptance and rejection rate for books?
It's a very different process from journals. So in books, if you send in a proposal and it has some challenges, that's when your relationship starts with the acquisitions editor. And they will continue to work with you on that proposal until it's ready to be accepted. It is very rare that a proposal is just outright rejected. It would be if it was unsound science, not filled out, very well. Those would be reasons for outright rejection. But the process with books, our rejection rate is very low because we work with the author to make their proposal fit what the market needs. So it's more of a relationship where once you find your acquisitions editor, they're going to continue to work with you until it's accepted. So it's a little process from journals.
Okay, thank you, Stacey. Another question, what should be the best strategy to be able on time to work on a book as a team? It is a hard thing to be even a chapter editor.
It's true. I won't sugarcoat it. Working on a book is a lot of hard work, but it's also a really great feeling of accomplishment at the end. And there's many relationships that are forged if you decide to be an editor and you have chapter contributors. I've seen people find collaborations through that they maybe never would have had before, because they invite someone to contribute to their book and it starts a relationship. It's networking, it's working together, it's organization. There's a lot of skills that are needed to do it, but it is very worthwhile and has a lot of great results at the end.
Okay, thank you. And another question, if we can be both editor and author for a book, is it appropriate for ethical way?
Yeah, so most editors, so the people who are asking people to contribute, will be a co-author or author on 1 to 3 chapters in their book. And the reason for that, it makes sense and it is ethical. The reason for that is that they're chosen to be an editor because they are an expert in a field. We're not just picking, somebody off the street to be the editor. We want someone with scientific experience. We want someone who knows the subject matter, that whole list of things that I read off on what you need to be an editor. And if you have all of those things, you are going to have an expertise. So some of the chapters in your book will benefit from you contributing to them.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, they're asking if any thesis or any published article can be converted to a book.
No.
And if yes, how?
No, once you're published, you're published. We don't double dip. If you're published as a journal article, then you're published. And we don't take that and turn it into a book. It wouldn't be fair to our customers. It wouldn't be ethical to do that because we'd just be repurposing published material and selling it, in a new way. And that just wouldn't be right.
Okay, thank you so much. And one of our attendees asking if there is a scoring system when you're getting proposals from the authors, or opposite way, she's asking if you are just sending a proposal to an author, is there a scoring system, criteria that you apply?
No, there isn't a scoring system. So each acquisitions editor has certain things that they might look for in their field, depending on what's important for that field, and they will evaluate your proposal on that. The most important things are the things that I talked about in that slide, where I talked about making sure you identify a really distinct audience. Publishers don't want to find your audience for you. They want you to know who your audience is, what their challenges are, and how your book is going to fix those challenges. And if you have that story in your proposal, your acquisitions editor is going to pick that up and say, hey, let's work together. Let's make this book.
Okay, thank you. And one of the questions is, if we would like to translate an Elsevier book to Turkish, is it possible? And if it's possible, what will be the appropriate way to do it? And following question is, what if we prepare the book in English and Turkish at the same time? How we should proceed that kind of both language?
So we don't generally have people create it in two languages at the same time. And the reason for that is our process for translations. I'll explain that first. So when you do a book with us, in order to have a translation into any other language, doesn't matter what language, you need to first have local interest. So you need either a university or you know, somebody who wants that book. Once you have that need, then you need to find a local publisher there who has an interest in translating it and owning the rights for translation in that particular country in that language. Then we connect that publisher with our rights department and they work on the rights together, and then they do the translation and the publication in that country.
Okay, thank you. And another question which I'm just replying on behalf of you, but I would like to take a verification for you. It is the similar question, if it is possible to publish an article based on a book. I think the answer is again no for the duplication part, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the other question is, what are the main subjects you have decided for 2021? And they would like to see it, the list.
Yeah, it's going to vary by acquisitions editor. So we cover a vast array of areas. And I think these slides are going to be made available to everyone, but you can see in the slides, I have the top areas that we partner on. And those are some of the areas you're going to want to look into. So medicine and dentistry, there was engineering. We also had agriculture and biology. So all of those areas are all in demand, but there's a larger list within the slides that you can take a look at.
Okay, great. I will just share how they can get your slide from the research recommended events page. I will share the link after we conclude the questions. So the other question is, are you interested in publishing books in humanities? Example, English literature.
Our group does not, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And another question is about the conference proceedings. So there again, it is the same, but it is Mahmut Bey, soru tam kitapla alakalı olmadığı için bunu Stacy'ye iletmemin pek bir anlamı yok. Çünkü kongre kitapçığında genişleterek makale olarak yayınlayabilir miyiz demişsiniz. Fakat burada şöyle bir şey var. Bu da yine dublike yayın oluyor. Eğer farklı bir istisnai durumu yoksa, çünkü konferans kaydı olarak yayınlanmış. Bir de siz bundan aynı hani dublike bir yayınla makale yayınlatarsanız, genişletmek değil de eğer siz onu alıp başka bir gerçekten katkılarınızla farklı bir bilimsel çalışmayı dönüştürüp ulaştırırsanız, hani tamamen farklı bir çalışma olursa evet, ama tabii ki yine alanınızda uzmanlara danışmanızı rica ediyorum. Stacy, I replied in Turkish because it is not about the book content, but he is asking about, for example, if we just enhance any conference proceedings and publish an article based on that. And I replied that most probably it will be a duplication.
There are some instances where we have partnered with conference owners to be the publisher of their proceedings, but this is something that's arranged ahead of time, and then there's certain qualifications that have to happen to make sure that it isn't a duplication.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So another question.
Involved with a conference and have a contact, you could always reach out to the publisher and ask them if they'd like to partner with you as, you know, the publisher of the proceedings for the conference.
Yeah, exactly. So it is the best way to, if we have any concerns or any other questions, it is always better to get in touch with the publisher and discuss this, initiatives and concerns. So it will be a much more transparent and appropriate way to do it. For example, this is not we can't say all of them duplication, but always there can be some other exemptions to proceed. So another question is, She wrote an article about microbiota field, and I want it to be a book chapter. Is there a place where we can apply to publish?
Well, if it's already published as a journal article, no, it can't. But if you have an interest in contributing a chapter, you can reach out to an acquisitions editor and tell them that you have experience in microbiota and that you would be interested in contributing a chapter. And as it happens, I am the person who covers gastroenterology. So I would be the person that you would reach out to. So whoever that was, I would recommend them emailing me and talking about their experience, and we can discuss what ways they might be able to help with the upcoming book.
Okay, great. So another question is, they're asking a contact for you or any other relevant questions about this book publishing, where they can write.
Yeah, I'll put my direct email.
Okay, great. Okay, another question, what about ELT, English language teaching? Are you interested in publishing on ELT?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
ELT, English language teaching field.
No, that's not one of our areas.
Okay. And I think we completed the Q&A part. They are thanking, we receive a lot of thank you messages. So, and another question, yeah, we received in medical field, can we use the recordings or photographs of our previously reported cases after taking permission from the publishing journal?
As long as you have the permission trail of, you know, being granted permission to do so, we're happy to have that content.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think we covered everything right now. Another question, but I say this, another question appears, pop-ups. Do you publish about healthcare management?
Yes.
Okay, very straightforward answer. Yeah, I think we completed the questions and we are just past 1 hour period. So after just having some brief information, Stacy, I will give the last words to you. Let me just share some slides about the presentation and other Turkish teams channels. Şu an hani Kasım seminerlerimiz bitmek üzere. Buradaki zaten artık etkinlik sayfamızı biliyorsunuzdur ama yeniden şimdi ben paylaşacağım sizlerle. Burada etkinlik sayfamızın linkini chat kısmından koyuyorum. Buradan takip edebilirsiniz. Hani devam edeceğiz. Kasım ayı sonlanmak üzere ama her ay olduğu gibi farklı içeriklerle sizle buluşmaya devam edeceğiz. Onun dışında bütün tamamlanan seminerlerimizi YouTube kanalımızdan takip edebilirsiniz. Elsevier Türkiye YouTube diye aradığınızda çıkıyor. Arama motorlarında. Dolayısıyla burada mümkün olduğunca yeni içerikleri kısa sürede eklemeye çalışıyoruz. Yine bunu da bir sorun olmazsa inşallah şu an kayıtta ekleyeceğiz. Sosyal medya hesaplarımızı takip ediyorsunuz birçoğunuz ama yine de hatırlatayım. Sağ olsun kütüphane ekiplerimiz de duyurularımıza çok destek oluyor. Onlara da buradan teşekkür ediyoruz. Türkiye hesaplarımızdan da duyurular yapıyoruz. Türkçe olarak araştırmacılarımıza, öğrencilerimize faydalı olabilecek çok güzel paylaşımlar yapıyor ekibimiz. Bizi takip etmenizi öneriyoruz ve istiyoruz. Bugünkü seminer için eğer sertifika ihtiyacınız varsa, katılım sertifikası şu an chat kısmından paylaştığım etkinlik sayfasına gidiyorsunuz. Burada bir kod alanı var şurada gördüğünüz ekranda. O kod alanına bu kodu giriyorsunuz. Bu kodu girmeden önce bir sisteme giriş yaparsanız Research Academy'ye daha iyi oluyor. Daha çabuk indiriyor ya da otomatik zaten daha önce giriş yaptıysanız otomatik giriş yapıyor ve indiriyor zaten. Ve bu etkinlik sayfasına beraber gidelim. Şu an herhalde ekranı görmeye devam edeceksiniz. Umuyorum bütün ekranı paylaşmışımdır. Buradaki bu kodu giriyorsunuz. Ondan sonrasında devam ediyorsunuz adımları ve sertifikanızı indirmiş oluyorsunuz. Burada bakıldığında aşağıda da bugünkü Stacy'nin sunumunu bulabilirsiniz. Bu sayfadan indirebiliyorsunuz hemen şu an. Download kısmında da Derya Hanım'ın kitap türleriyle ilgili yaptığı sunumu indirebiliyorsunuz. Ve Take the Survey kısmından bugünkü etkinliğimize dair görüşlerinizi bizimle paylaşırsanız çok seviniriz. Olumlu ya da olumsuz, hani sonrakileri de ona göre düzenlemek için. Web sayfası paylaşımı görünmüyormuş. Tekrar şimdi paylaşayım. Teşekkür ederim Ezgi Hanım. Tekrarlıyorum. Ekranı sadece kısıtlı paylaşmışım. Şimdi yeniden paylaşıyorum. O paylaştığım linkten bu sayfaya gidiyorsunuz. Workshop kod alanı buraya giriliyor ve submit diyerek devam ediyorsunuz. Bir süre sonra zaten hazır olunca sertifikanız size e-mail olarak da bildirim yapılıyor ya da hesabınıza giriş yapıp oradan kontrol edebilirsiniz. Hesabınızdaki profile tıkladığınızda bütün sertifikalarınızı da görüntüleyebiliyorsunuz. Stacy'nin sunumu Presentation Deck altında buradan indirilebiliyor hemen. Download kısmında da Derya Hanım'ın içerik sunumu indirilebiliyor durumda. Dolayısıyla bunları indirebilirsiniz hemen şu an. Take the Survey'deki anketi de doldurursanız, bize görüşlerinizi iletirseniz çok mutlu oluruz. Bizim için görüşleriniz çok önemli. Sanıyorum hani chat kısmında da yanıtlamadığımız bir soru kalmadı diye düşünüyorum. Birçoğu Q&A kısmından gerçekleştirildi. Ben Stacy'ye, Derya Hanım'a çok teşekkür ediyorum. Stacy, we thank a lot for your contribution, and I know that you started very early for us because of the US time difference. Ve onun dışında Natalya, Ezgi ve çevirmenlerimiz Ebru Hanım ve Cakat Bey'e de çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sizlere de katılımınızdan dolayı teşekkür ediyorum. Sonraki seminerlerde görüşmek üzere diyorum. Thank you and bye bye.
Teşekkürler, iyi günler.
İyi günler.